All right, let's see where we're at here. Good morning, and hopefully those who are coming to join us here this morning on an REC Live. And I'm still trying to wake up myself. Just wanted to give you all some updates on some various things that are going on right now. There is a lot of stuff going on right now. And actually, we're kind of in limbo, waiting on some other things. And I just wanted to give you all some updates here. Hopefully, this will take less than an hour. We'll try to run through a bunch of these things. First of all, just an update on renewals. This is where we're at right now. We have currently 11% of LPFMs have filed their renewals. And, well, we still have 20 days remaining. Now, this is for Florida, Puerto Rico, and the Virgin Islands. The filing date is by October 1st. And so we've got that. The next states up are going to be Georgia and Alabama. And they'll start filing in October. And their applications will be due on the first business day in December. So that's that's where we're at on that. ETRS EAS Form 3 update. If you haven't filed your Form 3, please do so. You've got till the 23rd to do that. We need your numbers. We need, if anything, we need your numbers, so that way, you know, we can get that LPFM number up. And the only, God, why does my throat have to clog up every time I'm getting ready to go on do something live? I don't know. But anyway, EAS Form 3 is due by the 23rd. So if you haven't gotten that in yet, please get that in. Go back to your EAS logs and go through and make sure that you've got the times for when the national test came in. And if the national test did not come in at all, we still need you to file. If anything, we definitely need you to file. If the test did not make it, because we need that noted, and the alerting team needs that noted. Obviously, they know the widespread stuff. We know about Florida. We know what happened in Florida, and so please get that ETRS Form 3 in. Let's get the number at least above 50% this year. Come on, we can do this. LPFM can do this. So let's see what's happening. MB docket 19-193, which is the LPFM technical changes that are being proposed. I have not heard, you know, there hasn't been a publication yet of it in the Federal Register. So unfortunately, I don't have any really much to say on that one right now, except, you know, get your comments prepared. Remember, once the comment period opens, you'll still have 30 or 60 days to file your comments. But still, get them prepared now, and, you know, read over what's being proposed. And, you know, there's, you know, the things in there that are being proposed now. Of course, we're not getting the things that we really need, LP 250, but we are getting some good things in there with the moves, and also there's going to be a little bit of for our friends in Tucson and San Diego and other places near and around the border that want to put 100 watts in a certain direction, and they can't because of this strip zone treaty. We need to get everybody involved in this one. And also, too, we also need to push for a further proposed rulemaking, a further notice of proposed rulemaking for LP 250. We need that. And the only way that we can do that is by hearing from LPFM stations that are currently 100 watts and are currently experiencing problems. Even if you cannot get the upgrade per the tool, it's still, we need to know about your issues regarding building penetration, being heard on one side of the building and not in the other side of the building and such, or if there's a certain little area just outside of your just fringe that you wish that you were able to get to, or you're barely heard there, by all means, we need to push for a further notice of proposed rulemaking on LP 250. Now you're wondering, why is the commission not doing this? Why are they not going ahead with the LP 250? And half of the problem is that they've already had the Local Community Radio Act shoved down their throat in so many different ways from so many different people that have no idea what the Local Community Radio Act entails. And honestly, right now we're seeing that played out in Modesto, California right now. There's been a very strong campaign going on right now against a translator for iHeart. Now you're wondering, okay, it's iHeart, they're the bastion of evil, and they're the NAB, and oh God, people, get out of the past. Here's the deal. There's all these misunderstandings that the Local Community Radio Act means that there needs to be at least an equal number of LPFMs and translators in an area. And, there's nothing like that at all. That's not true. It says that licenses for new stations will be given based on community need. There was a community need addressed with the AM cross-service translators. Now, everybody seems to equate LPFM as the quote community radio. No, it's not. Community radio is just that. It's radio. It's providing radio services to the community. Now you're wondering, okay, why are you defending translators? I'm not defending translators. I'm defending the statute, and I'm defending the proper reading of the statute and not the bastardization of the statute that some have engaged in. The Local Community Radio Act was written to allow for this kind of, to assure that for the 2013 window that there was going to be space available for new FM translators. And, for new LPFM stations, making sure that there is enough room there. And by golly, yeah, room was made. But now we're in that point now where, we're going to go translators, we're going to go LPFM, and probably a few years down the road, we're going to go translators. Now, some are saying, okay, well, why wasn't there any kind of an anti-preclusion study for the translator windows? Wasn't that required in the LCRA? No, it wasn't. There is nothing about the anti-preclusion studies in the LCRA. There never was. It just said that the FCC has to make spectrum available based on community need, and they did. There was a community need expressed by the by the AM stations, where they needed, some help. And yes, AM is in trouble. And while I don't think that FM translators is the best long-term solution, I feel that there's other solutions. MA3 digital, expanding the band down to 76 and opening up 60 new channels. That's more of a solution than translators. But, back in 2014, back in 2013, 2014, when all this was going on, I had discussions with Prometheus Radio Project at the time. And this was the old Prometheus. This was the Prometheus that actually had offices in Philadelphia. This was back when they had a policy director, Sanjay Jolly. And we all agreed at that time that the translator window coming up, as long as it, because of the fact that it was restricted to AM licensees, and we're only talking about another thing I want to clear up here. What happened in 2016 was not a filing window. That was a waiver of the rules for a period of time to permit moves of FM translator stations of up to 250 miles if it's being done to accommodate an AM station. Basically what they did was they institutionalized Mattoon waivers, is what they did at the time. So that's not a window. People need to stop calling that a window. That was not a window. That was a move opportunity. The windows where the auction was the and there was only one technical filing window, even though it was split up into two. That's one window. Auction 99 for the Class C and Ds, and then auction 100 for everybody else. That's technically one window. It was divided into two. You know, the original LPFM window back in 2000 was divided into three. We had three we had three separate windows per se. We had three separate sub windows set up because we needed to, because the FCC had figured, okay, there's going to be a ton of applications coming in. We're just going to do this by states. So first two windows open up with maybe about 10 or so states in each one. The idea was to have 5 windows originally. And based on that, and then based on the passage of the Radio Broadcast Protection Act, which basically wiped out a ton of opportunities because of the third adjacent, they just decided to fire up a third window and just put the rest of the country in there. That was still one filing window, people. That was still one filing window per se. Okay, so translators had their window in 2017, 2018. They had their window series in 2017, 2018. Now it's going to be our turn again, hopefully here in about 2023. By the way, feel free to jump on the chat there on YouTube, and if you want to post any comments or any questions. So we have all these arguments going around about the Local Community Radio Act, that it that it requires that LPFMs have more space than translators, that the translators always have to leave room. And now the silliest argument that I'm hearing now is that they have to leave room for for an LPFM in cases, and in special cases they have to make special accommodations to leave room for LPFMs in areas that are impacted by foothill effect, and have station like in the Central Valley of California, where they have full service stations that have lower classes like Class A's and they're Class A stations, but they have this fantastic coverage because they're in the foothills. So they have a low height above average terrain, but they have a huge mountain range behind them but they still have a deep valley down below. And that's one of the problems with the Central Valley of California is that it's a big bowl with FM stations scattered all around the foothills, all the way around on both sides, on both sides of the mountains within that valley. That is a distinct area. And the Local Community Radio Act does not make exceptions for California. They don't, there was no pork written into that for California. There was for New Jersey, but there wasn't for California. So let's lay off on bastardizing the Local Community Radio Act any more than we're doing, than we're doing right now. We need to chill out on this. And these are some of the reasons why we're not getting the things that we want. And some might say, oh, it's the NAB. Yeah, the NAB has a bit to do with it too, but keep in mind the NAB is right now, they are reacting to things that are going on right now, like the massive translator objection filings, all this, what's going on in Modesto. Let's also not forget the compliance issues. We'll talk about that in a bit. But we have compliance issues that we got to deal with in LPFM. Wow, got a lot going on here today. All right, let's move on. FCC open meeting is coming up on September 26th. And there's several issues on there regarding U.S. Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, for getting them some funding for infrastructure, some telecom related stuff, 3.5 gigahertz auction procedures. The final one there is updating and streamlining the rules for direct broadcast satellite. That's DirecTV and Dish. It's from what I read in the summary, is they're trying to make some of the rules in the DBS service, which is in a different part of the FCC rules, consistent with other geostationary satellite services that exist in another part of the rules. The interesting one on here is going to be the public notice of broadcast application rules, and this one will have an impact on LPFM. I don't know if y'all remember. Let me grab some water here. I don't know if y'all remember a few months ago, back before Maryland, Virginia, West Virginia, and DC was filing for their renewals, that the audio division came out with this request. It was never made a public notice, but it was a request. It was a request that LPFM stations run the renewal announcements, and specifically they're requesting to run them in accordance with the schedules that apply to full service stations. Despite the fact that there is no rule, there is no cross-reference to 733580. Now you get yourself wondering, how is the staff even allowed to do that? Technically, they can ask for public notice from LPFMs, even though there is no regulation. Why? Because there's statute. Statute is going to be on Section 311A1 of the Communications Act. And the big issue that's coming up that I raised was, okay, fine and dandy, LPFM stations, you can do your renewal announcements over the air, but there are other types of applications that require public notice, and this is something that LPFM has never been instructed to follow for the past 19 years, and into filing windows. And various things under the law and under the interpretation of the Communications Act require public notice. And these are the big things: assignments and transfers, if you're giving your station away to somebody else, any significant transfer of more than 50% of your board members, that needs to be disclosed through public notice. If you file a major modification during a filing window, that's going to require public notice. So, and for new applicants, the original construction permits, once they're accepted for filing, currently for full service stations, here's the way it works. For full service stations, under the current rules right now, is that these stations need to, if they are commercial stations, they have to put these legal notices in the newspaper for 2 consecutive weeks, 2 days a week, once the application is accepted for filing. That also applies for new stations, for new applicants. Once their application has been accepted for filing, meaning that if it's mutually exclusive, it was made a tentative selectee. Once that happens, right now under the current full service rules, they have to do that. Now, there is no LPFM rule, even though they are required. Even though statute requires it, there's never been a rule to implement it, because in 2000, everybody thought, okay, let's make LPFM so simple that we don't need these kinds of rules. Well, guess what? Nobody forgot to research that there's a statute requiring public notice. So the FCC is finally going to fix this, and they have a notice of proposed rulemaking that's going to be coming out, and they're going to fix it across the board, because the thing about filing in a newspaper is a huge burden on these stations. It's a huge burden because of the cost, and especially for a lower powered station or an LPFM. I mean, you're a small 100-watt station covering maybe like a 3.5-4 mile area, and your local newspaper of general circulation in that area is the big city paper that covers maybe like 2 or 3 million people. That's going to be very expensive for a new upstart, and I think that was one of the reasons why the FCC stayed away from enforcing any kind of public notice rule on LPFMs. What's being proposed is newspapers going away completely. The FCC has finally decided that the newspapers are dead. And so what the FCC is going to is they're going to be going to a process where currently non-commercial stations, full service, are allowed to do their other public notices, such as assignments and transfers and major changes and such. They can do those on the air. Full service commercial does not have that privilege. Also, too, translators, if they make changes like this, they have to leave public notice in a newspaper. So the proposal right now is that everything goes to either over the air and online. Over the air for non-commercial stations. Non-commercial stations will still be able to do everything over the air only. The schedule of announcements will be changed to once per week for 4 weeks after the application is accepted for filing. There will also be an online element, and the online element involves either going to, if you're already an existing station, you can use your website to do your online public notice. If you are if you're a new entrant, there's going to be some issues, and this is an issue that we're going to be working out in the rulemaking proceeding, because where the FCC wants you to go to is either going to a local government website, what they call a local bulletin board website, whatever that is, or having the State Broadcasters Association listed on their website. Okay, let's talk about local government first. Okay, local government, why do we need affirmation like that? And also too, what about faith-based stations? I highly doubt that a local government is going to list a public notice of a faith-based station. And if that faith-based, that just brings up a huge First Amendment issue. And what if the city does not approve? What if you have what if it's a minority religion and you are in a much more highly conservative area? How's that going to be? How's that going to go by there? Just too many issues. Also, too, how many of these municipal governments are going to have to pass ordinances first to even allow their city telecommunications department to even put these up on the website? So, to me, that's an impractical idea. Bulletin board sites and other publicly known sites, well, guess what? Now the newspapers are back in again, and giving them free rein to open up captive pricing for these stations. And again, that's what the commission is trying to avoid. State broadcasters associations. Now, I will say this: some of our state broadcasters associations have been very welcoming and accommodating to LPFM stations. However, there are a few out there, New Jersey, that are not. And they've actually been very hostile towards LPFM over the years, and they still remain hostile to this day. I highly doubt that they would be used. So we need to figure out, okay, how do these new entrants get their legal public notice out there? You know, in a previous proceeding, you know, in the previous comments, I stated, okay, well, we could set up a, you know, we could put a public notice. The Communications Act doesn't say how the public notice must be given or how frequently it's given. What if they were to just put a note on the street in front of the building where they plan to put the station? You know, kind of like when you apply for a liquor license. They put the note in the window that says, so-and-so has applied for a liquor license. If you're not liking that idea, come to the city council meeting next Tuesday. So that's where we're at. Again, once this is adopted by the commission, there will be the normal comment and reply comment period, and we'll have more information about that on the website. We have more information already on the website about that, recnet.com. Please do me a favor, if you are watching, please subscribe. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel. Let's go ahead and get this channel up and going. And you know, I've got a lot of content. We're currently in a temporary streaming operation right now. I'm in the process of getting things built. We're still waiting on some things. I'm still waiting for my Rode Pod mic to be delivered. So we're still waiting on that. So we're still waiting on some gear. We're actually still waiting on some computers. We got some neat stuff, and some neat things that we're putting together, you know, for this. You know, we're gonna do what we can to try to increase the streaming operations here at REC, and I'm trying to commit to being here once every Thursday at about 11 o'clock in the morning, earlier and later on FCC meeting days. And we're also working on getting this simulcasted through REC-FM through the audio stream. So we have a lot of work to do, a lot of good things that are going to be going on. Let's talk about compliance. I'm asking everybody out there to please, 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 especially those who are the, I'm going to say the at the time of purchase less experienced broadcasters. Please check your equipment. Please check your transmitters for that FCC ID label on the back. Some LPFM stations may have been sold uncertified transmitters, unknowing to them at the time. And so, and one of them just recently got caught in California, and we had to go through a lot. Unfortunately, the vendor and the manufacturer, after a little bit of a fight, went out of their way to finally get the problem resolved, because it turned out that the client did originally order the right transmitter, and somehow or another it got switcherooed from the close of the sale to the delivery, and 4 years later they get dinged by an inspector. So let's make sure that we have certified equipment running on these stations, and make sure that the little FCC ID label is on the back of your transmitter, so in case Charlie does visit, you'll be covered. All right, what have we got going on here? Underwriting. We've had some things come up this past week or two on underwriting, and you know, in one case we had full service station full service cluster file against a group of LPFM stations in a particular community, claiming on various things that the stations might be shadow owned, they might be actually controlled by a single entity, that they are being jointly marketed and that they're being sold like, they're being sold like a cluster, and that they're running actual commercial advertising, underwriting acknowledgments that cross the line from identification to promotion. So we've got that case going on right now. We've also got another case in Arizona where a consent decree was reached over some various issues, including a transmitter site that was not built to their CP specs, but also an underwriting issue. Same thing, they ran ads that crossed the line from identification to promotion, and they got, believe it or not, but they got their license back, and their license had been deleted for quite a while, but they got it back on reconsideration. They had a $1,500 civil penalty that they had to pay, and now they're in the process right now trying to get back up. They've got a consent decree, so they've got to have a compliance plan, a compliance officer, they've got to have an attorney, they've got to have all this. And this all could have been avoided if we are playing by the rules where it comes to these announcements. Now, some people, the attitudes I sometimes get, and lately, has been, well, we're entitled to do this. This is, we're strapped for cash, we're desperate, we're entitled. No. That's not how it works. The Communications Act is very clear that you cannot promote for-profit entities and be a non-commercial FM licensee. You can't do it. And, so I'm in the process right now building up some more educational materials on compliance, on, the issue of identification versus promotion. Because the idea is that you need to identify and acknowledge who it is that supports your station. By selling 30s and 60s, and by including like multiple voices and the owner's voice in there and everything. Remember, it's not the business that should be talking to the listener. It's the station that should be talking to the listener, because it's the station that's acknowledging the contribution. That's the way it should be done, and that's the approach that should be taken. So again, let's be careful on promoting, putting ideas in the listener's head, speaking directly to the listener. These are all no-nos. These are all things you should not be doing, in the non-commercial world. And again, we're going to get a new compliance guide out, and we'll get out some information for you without the, hey, we're entitled to do this kind of twist to it. And, we've got to do this the right way. And, our ability to get LP 250, our ability to get a lot of things right now, our ability to even survive, depends on our compliance. So let's get this together, and let's get this all going. And like I've always said, and like Donna DiBianco has always said, let's start with the business card and slowly work our way out. That's how we do it. All right, stop using terms like advertising. Stop using terms like sales. Stick with relationships, underwriter relationships, donor relations. This is what these folks are. They're underwriters. Okay, and you're not, quote, selling underwriting. That's the funny one I always hear. We're selling underwriting. No! They're underwriting you, and you're acknowledging them. That's the way it's supposed to work. We have just updates on Facebook pages. We have a Facebook page out there that's called Future LPFM NCE Broadcasters or something like that. Feel free to send those who currently don't have a station who might be interested to go over there and sign up, and because that's going to be the place where we're going to answer a lot of the newbie questions over there, and that's going to be kind of like a newbie place. And also too, there was some BSery that happened on there in the past 24 hours, and I do want to address that really quickly. There's going to be people on there that are going to ask a lot of simple questions and a lot of duh questions on there. We need to respect that because they are new. We don't want to scare folks away. I feel good that there's people who are actually coming to us to seeking advice instead of guessing and going on their own and then doing something illegal that's going to get them into trouble. So the fact that they are coming to us is a good thing. Let's keep that going. And let's support these new broadcasters. Let's support these new future broadcasters. Again, let's see what else is going on. We're still waiting. Obviously 19.3, which is the administrative changes. We don't know when that's going to be coming out. I haven't seen anything on circulation yet. I'm assuming we may have I don't know yet. I haven't checked with staff with any updates on that one yet. But if you have something to say on that, feel free to ex parte and make sure you follow the ex parte rules. 19.193, we're still waiting for publication in the Federal Register. That's the technical changes for LPFM. But once that happens, once it's published in the Federal Register, the FCC will issue a notice, a public notice. It should appear on the fcc.today website, and and then whatever those comment period dates are, that's when you can file. So right now, let the stakeholders right now work the FCC and ex parte beforehand, because but overall, I think right now everything that's on that 19193 should be supported, but we also need to bring LP 250 back into the we need to bring that back on the table again. LP 250 needs to be back on the table, and the only way we can do that is by flooding the FCC with comments with why LP 250 would benefit your specific station. That's what we're looking for. If we can get 500 comments from 1/4 of the LPFM stations or so out there, from about 1/5 of the LPFM stations out there, saying this is how it's going to help us. This is how LP 250 would help us, even if it can't help you because of other regulations that would prevent it, such as you're too close to another LPFM station or an FM translator. At least show some support, and we appreciate that. We're still anticipating a filing window for non-commercial full service. This will be for the 20 reserve channels from 88.1 to 91.9. I'm hoping it comes right after the Commission makes a decision on the MB docket 19-3. So that can happen maybe sometime in 2020. I'm hoping. I'm crossing my fingers for 2020 on that one. Will that have much impact on LPFM? If you're below 92, yeah, it probably may have some impact on you. But if you're above 92, yeah, there's really not much that you need to worry about there. Some of you in really deep rural areas, you may be actually able to graduate from low power to full service by applying in the window, disclosing that you have an LPFM, and then once your construction permit is granted for the full service station, you can start building your full service station, and then, but before you can go on the air with program test, your LPFM station will either have to be assigned to another organization or canceled and taken off the air or what have you. You can't have them both at the same time. So something to think about for some of you out there is that we're going to do that window. We want to do that window first because we also want to have an LPFM window. And with the changes that are going to be taking place in Channel 6 that are proposed in MB Docket 19193, it may open up some channels below 92 for new LPFM stations or for existing LPFM stations to make changes. But I want to get this window in for the non-commercials first, so that way LPFM will have a more realistic idea of where they could go to. The last thing we need is a filing window for LPFM to open, a bunch of stations file down below 92, and then 2 years later a full service NCE window opens, somebody grabs that and wipes out all those applications. I don't want to see that happen, and this is one of the things that we're pushing right now at the FCC is NCE first, LPFM next. There is a reason for that logic. So let's run with it and let's see where it goes. If anybody has any questions, YouTube chat right now. I'm watching it. I have been watching it. So if you want to type something in the chat, let's see if anybody's asked anything on Facebook anywhere. And let's see what we've got going on here. Anybody commenting? Hans is saying we need a West Coast edition because he's on the air. Yeah, well, 11 o'clock, 11, 10, 9, 8. I mean, it's morning drive still, and it's still morning drive on the West Coast. So actually the 11 o'clock time frame is actually a good time frame to reach both the East and West Coast. So, yeah. So that's what we've got there. Seeing if there's anything else relevant to this chat here. Again, feel free to chat. Feel free to pop into the YouTube with any questions or anything like that, and and we'll run with that. Otherwise, I think we'll probably just pop on out of here in just a minute or two. So again, just again, for those who are coming in late, just the reminders, renewals for Florida, Puerto Rico, and the Virgin Islands. That's where we're at right now. We still have about 20 days left for renewal filings in those states. Those who have paid REC to do it, I do the filings for renewals on the 17th or later, but definitely before the filing deadline. I want to make sure that you all get your announcements in. Again, your last pre-file announcement, if you're in Florida, Puerto Rico, or the Virgin Islands, your last pre-file announcement will be on the 16th of this month, and then in October, November, December, you'll file your make your post-filing announcements on the 1st and the 16th of each month per the schedule. Visit recnet.com/renewal for information on the schedule that the FCC would like you to use. Okay, remember, there is no rule that says that LPFM stations have to do this, but there is statute in the Communications Act that says that all broadcasters, including LPFMs, have to give some form of public notice. So let's afford the FCC the courtesy on this one. We're going to fight them on some of the other public notice issues, and hopefully the rulemaking that I talked about a little earlier will address some of that. But we'll fight them on the other things. But let's go ahead and follow the full service schedule for the renewals. This is something that's easy to do, doesn't cost any money to put any ads in any newspapers or anything like that, and we are allowed to use over the air only, and that's a non-commercial privilege. So another reason why it's good that this service is non-commercial and stays non-commercial, is that we have fewer expenses, fewer reporting, and we don't have to put crap in the newspapers. So yeah, just be glad we are non-commercial. EAS Form 3, the ETRS Form 3 deadline is on the 23rd. If you filed your Form 2 but haven't filed your Form 3 yet, please do so. If your station was silent, you still need to file. Please file and just say that you didn't receive it and why. And why was because your station was silent. You know, if you didn't get it at all, that's even more of a reason to file. That way the alerting team knows, you know, where everything got screwed up. And this, trust me, this last test was very screwed up. We see that here, okay? 19193 technical changes. No dates yet on that from the FCC. FCC meeting on the FCC meeting on the 26th of September. And again, mostly the only issue on there, the issue that impacts us there is the public notice issue, which I just talked about. So remember that. Also remember identification, not promotion, versus promotion. You remember we're here to identify our underwriters, not promote our sponsors. That's what LPFM is for. Remember that. Remember the calls to action. Remember the you know, remember the quantitative and qualitative statements. Remember the inducements to buy, the incitements to buy, the inducements to buy, pricing information. This is the kind of stuff we need to keep off of these acknowledgments. You know, make sure that it's the station speaking to the listener and not the business speaking to the listener. These are the ways that you'll stay out of the fines. And this is the way that those of us in DC can better help you in getting what we need for the service. So, Brock is asking about the Charlottesville complaint filing. I did talk about that a little earlier in the video, but I'm going to. But I didn't touch on the other. I didn't touch on the shadow, the alleged shadow ownership issue. And let me just give you my position on that, because you know, we dealt with something like this in Southern California with Dub Lab, and there was you know, then the accusations that I didn't make, but another organization made up in Philadelphia during the window with the G-Town, Germantown case. Here's the thing: if they claim that they have a broadcast cooperative, a separate entity, a separate LLC entity that was set up, that according to their information, according to the information that was already in the record, was intended to be a place where the LPFM stations could have a common place, a common entity to fund, and then that common entity would then turn around and pay for the studio space, for the technical, for the equipment, for the maintenance and the construction of the antenna. Apparently they're running a pretty complex combiner system on those stations. In the case of Charlottesville, what they're going to have to do is they're going to have to make a good showing, a good compelling showing, that this cooperative was formed solely for those purposes and is not being used to market the stations or program the stations. If there are 4 or 5 different organizations, separate boards, they have no influence over what somebody else programs, and they all come together and form like a single network entity, and there's this brick wall, and the brick walls between these entities still remain, I don't see an issue with that. I think the big thing that we're going to be asking here, and the big thing that needs to be asked in this case, is if a would-be underwriter, if an underwriter wants to underwrite on more than one of these stations? Are they writing more than one check? If they are funding, if the underwriters are funding directly to each of these five stations, and then these five stations turn around and take some of that funding and put it towards the co-op, who then pays the building rental, the electric bill, the maintenance on the equipment, there's not an issue there. If, however, there's a single management team that is managing, the overall operation of these stations, as far as making program decisions, what format goes on what station, or if the marketing for the underwriting acknowledgments, because is coming into the co-op or to another entity, and then is spread among the stations, then there's an issue. Now, one of the problems that I see in this specific case, and one of the things that could come back and bite these LPFMs, is the fact that they publish this combined media kit, and in there are all the stations that are in this alleged cluster, even including a rate card. That's a huge no-no. And that's really, overall, there may not be a legal no-no, but it's just hugely, in my opinion, unethical to have any kind of a rate card for like that, where you pay per 60 or you pay per 30 or whatever. We don't need that. We can't have that in the underwriting world. The underwriting world, the business wants to be affiliated with the station because the station is running compelling programming or running programming that they agree with. And, the business wants that relationship. It should not be because Joe's Mattress is having a 50% off sale this weekend. So, on Charlottesville, if they can prove, they're under the burden now that they have to prove that co-op is actually just a technical operating, is basically an operating company where everybody buys into it, and all they do is maintain the equipment and pay the rent. If that's all it is, there's no shadow ownership. However, if the co-op is marketing the stations or accepting the money on behalf of the stations and then distributing it, or everybody's pooling all their money into the co-op, we've got shadow ownership, we've got problems. So that's where I see the issue with them. Again, on the shadow ownership side of this thing, and on those shadow ownership allegations, I wish them the best. And I'm hoping that's all it is it's just an operating cooperative where everybody pooled together and decided to pay one set of bills instead of 5 sets of bills, and operating efficiently on one antenna. If that's all it is, more power to them, and let's get that issue to rest. However, we still have the underwriting issue, and I can tell you right now that the ads that I've looked at, I've reviewed and audited, the announcements on there are just blatantly over the line, beyond over the line. They are outright commercials. We cannot have that on LPFM. We have so many things that are waived for us as non-commercial broadcasters. We don't pay filing fees. We don't pay annual regulatory fees. The FCC just announced all the regulatory fees for the full service broadcast stations. We don't pay regulatory fees. During windows, when applications are mutually exclusive, we don't have auctions. We also, LPFM stations, we don't have any of this stuff. We just don't. And also, too, We have very overprotective ownership rules, although sometimes they're being questioned, like in the case of Charlottesville. But in the big picture, if we were commercial, there's laws that would apply. The Telecom Act of '96 would apply to us, where national ownership would be allowed. We'd lose our ability to restrict this to local organizations. We could give priority to local organizations, but we'd lose our ability to restrict. You know, what if iHeart starts buying up all the LPFMs? We also lose our ability to be able to keep LPFM from being a profit-making affair. You know, we have a lot of good rules right now that protect us, and a lot of good things that protect us right now from outside influence. And the only way we were able to get that is by being of non-commercial educational status. That is not going to, you know, as long as we keep it that way, that's the way it's going to be. When the original Radio Broadcast Protection Act was written back in 2000, there was a provision in there that said that LPFM stations must remain non-commercial. That was taken out for the Local Community Radio Act. I think it was an oversight, but they took it out. However, the Commission is not properly interpreting the LCRA with the changes that happened between the Radio Broadcast Protection Act and the LCRA. And see, and this is the issue that we have, like especially right now with Modesto, which is dreaming up all these new interpretations of Section 5. Well, guess what? We have Section 2 and Section 3 issues that we need to deal with. And that's mainly around the fact that the LCRA does not require distance separation protections for LPFM to translator relationships. It also doesn't specify operating power. And, you know, various things like that, you know. So, unfortunately, the Commission is being LCRA'd to death right now. And, you know, I'm trying to bring in some interpretations, you know, through direct communication on the second floor, while we have people in Modesto who are trying to rewrite policy and reinterpret the Local Community Radio Act. So, you know, hey, I understand what they're trying to do. I don't agree with their interpretation, but, you know, freedom of speech, First Amendment is a great thing. The right to grieve your government, I'm all for that. But unfortunately, the FCC has its limits. Let's talk really quickly. Speaking of limits, let's talk about Cesar Guel. Just wanted to give you an update that we are currently in the process right now of fighting the very last Cesar Guel applications as they're coming up on their 3-year expiration. We've already found right now in San Pedro, California, Bakersfield, California, Corpus Christi, Texas, Lawton, Oklahoma, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and Norfolk, Virginia, that license to cover applications were filed, but no facility was ever constructed. And I just filed another one last night on it's called the South Omaha, Nebraska Hispanic Education Family Foundation. And in that case, we didn't have any solid proof of a lack of construction, but we could show that the transmitter site is on public land. It's in a state park. And also, too, it is within a federally designated floodplain, which would normally require an environmental assessment be filed. and the construction permit that moved the station to that location was filed 3 days before the expiration date. It was granted by the FCC within 8 hours. So that is the crazy stuff that we've had to deal with, and so we're fighting that. And the issue is warehousing, spectrum warehousing. Even if, obviously they're trying to beat the buzzer, trying to keep the spectrum in their hands, and possibly to give away to a translator. That's the only other possible reason why I think they're doing this, because they're sure the heck not putting up stations. Caesar Guel, Dan Alpert, they want that spectrum to be theirs, and they're going to do everything they can to do that, so that way down the road they can sell it. They have sold spectrum in the past. They have given away LPFM stations under the table to other organizations, and they built them, or tried to. Look at South Miami Hispanic Community Radio. Excellent case that shows what one of Caesar Guel's MOs was during that 2013 window. Bottom line is, I don't want them here for the next window. And we need to do is right now, what this filing spree that I'm going on right now is to get FCC staff, just to get Alex Schuldner, Jim Bradshaw, Tom Hutton, Gary Lowers, everybody over at the audio division, to see that we need the resources next time this happens. We didn't have those resources with Pete Doyle running the show. We had resources for a short period of time, got a bunch of them dismissed on site assurance issues, but then turned around and some of them got reinstated because of a technicality over the ex parte rules in the letters of inquiry to the tower companies. So that's where we're at. Any more questions in the chat? Any more questions? Feel free to drop them in the chat, and we'll try to answer them. I'm going to announce right now that this year I am not going to be attending the Grassroots Radio Conference. There are several reasons, personal reasons, also some business reasons right now. We got a lot going on here right now, and I need to be around. I need to be in Riverton for a while, and I need to be in Riverton that weekend, and so I'm not going to be able to attend. I have offered to do a workshop via remote through the streaming facilities here. I have yet to hear back on whether they're going to want to go ahead with that or not. But I have made that offer to the GRC this year. Actually, I did, I had all intentions of going. I had all intentions of going this year. I even bought a ticket. I've got a ticket for a Grassroots Radio Conference this year, a presenter ticket. And, but I'm not going to show up. The attitude I'm going to have is, well, guess what? I bought a $75 presenter ticket for the GRC, and well, consider it a donation to the GRC. I already donate every year to the GRC through the operation of the website. The grassrootsradioconference.org website is maintained in a server that is under the control of REC that I pay for. So, they put the content on there, I put the infrastructure in, and that's kind of how it works. Regarding underwriting, given the reasonable and judgment in underwriting announcements, would a NARB-like forum to exchange, review, and discuss and get a self-policing process organized? Are you meaning like where people upload their copy post their copy somewhere and other people can comment on it. That's kind of already being done right now. If somebody wants to post that in like the LPFM group on REC, I have seen it done in the other group there, in the LPFM Solidarity. I've seen it done where people will post their copy, maybe scratch out the phone numbers, fake up the names, and then discuss, and then we all have a go at it. Occasionally, I see them on the NFCB mailing list for those who are NFCB members. So, yeah. But yeah, and within a reasonable limit, if you have questions, if you ever have questions on copy, if it's like one or two, feel free to email those to me. lpfm@recnet.com, lpfm@recnet.com, lpfm@recnet.com. Feel free to drop those in there. I'll maintain confidentiality. That way it's discussed confidentially, so you don't have to scratch out the names or anything like that if you don't want to. And I'll review it and give you some ideas, give you some insight on that. And yeah, Davine from WPVM is saying, yeah, we've done that and we've got great guidance from the LPFM community. Yeah, we've got a really good LPFM community out there. We just need to be careful that we don't clash. There's also a lot of paranoia out there over who is really supporting LPFM and who isn't, and stuff like that. And I have seen some really good people get turned away from these various internet groups and other places because of very strange allegations. But what can I do? It's their groups. I have no control over them. I will say this though, is also too another thing. Just because a station isn't LPFM, or just because they have this great community radio, maybe Pacifica style mission or whatever, they are not above the law. And there's been some recent posts that have disturbed me that would suggest otherwise. And there has been times in the past where I have filed objections against organizations because their applications aren't local and various reasons. And the excuse that I get why I should withdraw it is because they are a community station. They're proposing a community service. Well, guess what? Then play by the rules. Simple as that. You're no different than Caesar Guel in those cases. And how do I know that you're going to do that? Look at what's happened to Dub Lab in Southern California. Look at the 99.1 KZUT. I'm constantly hearing I'm constantly hearing one person, especially on the LPFM Solidarity, who's singing the praises of how great this station is and what they're going to do and what they're doing for new music and independent music and stuff like that. And half of the time they're running a dead carrier or doing a story reading. People, get a grasp on what you're talking about. And, just remember one other thing though. We'll put this in our, I guess we'll close off on this. Especially right now, it is renewal season. It's not like wabbit season or duck season, it's renewal season. And as we saw in Charlottesville, the big broadcasters are listening and they're taking notes. Remember that. your license could be threatened based on what you do. And we want to make sure that everybody is complying with the rules. You know, we've got a lot of resources at recnet.com. Feel free to use those. Feel free to subscribe to the videos here. I am working on right now. We've got a hardware purchase coming in. We've got another box coming in that will be dedicated for video work, video streaming, video production. I've got to get that piece of it going. We've got a lot of video from California that still needs to be put up. And we got a lot of other things that we need to instruct about, and I think the videos are the best way to do it. Like I said, feel free to subscribe to this channel. We need subscribers, because the more subscribers we get, the more features in YouTube get unlocked for us, and we can do more and be more taken seriously. And I want to get some stuff going. If you need any assistance on any applications, if you need something done, feel free, 1-844-REC-LPFM or 202-621-2355. The numbers are right there. There we go. See, this is why I don't do weather. But there's the numbers. There's the numbers right there. 1-844-REC-LPFM, 202-621-2355. Please subscribe to the videos. Yeah, we are running a little over time right now, but you know, I was only going to do this for an hour, but we're already into about an hour and 10 minutes here. But still, last call for questions, because I know, you know, I just want to make sure before we bust out. Oh, you reminded me. Thank you for reminding me. I forgot to tell everybody about this. We have a date now on CDBS. I forgot to put that in my notes this morning, and I apologize really deeply for that. CDBS is going to be going away for certain FM broadcast applications starting on the 25th of September, I believe it is. And from that point on, you'll be using LMS. So for LPFM, this is going to mean Forms 318 and 319. Your construction permit and your license to cover forms will be moved over to LMS. LMS does not have the same problems that CDBS has, where you have to use Internet Explorer or Firefox and hope that your Firefox doesn't automatically update. So they're finally moving these services off of there and onto LMS. A couple of nice things about LMS is that you will be able to, you know, the user interface is a little easier. It's a smoother flow. It's none of this going back and in and out and all that. You know, it's a flow. It is, and if you've done a renewal application, you'll know what I mean. Also, too, the CDBS account numbers, the separate user number and password, that would be going away for these applications. You only need your FRN to log in. And also, too, and if you have multiple, like if you have like a commonly owned translator or a booster under the same FRN, everything will be there once you log in and you go to facilities. You know, you'll be able to get to all of your facilities from there. From our end, it's going to mean a couple things. First of all, the nice thing is when you file in LMS, it shows up in real time in the FCC's public system, which means that it's going to show up real time on FCC.today. So so no more having to wait till 12:01 12:05 Eastern time in the morning to see who filed on the previous day. We won't have to do that anymore with LMS, because within 10 or 15 minutes from the time that you file it in LMS, we'll see it online on the at least on the FCC.today system. We're not going to be. Now, this is going to impact some of the REC systems, and let me tell you what's going to be happening with that. At first, there's a possibility that applications filed may not display correctly in the FCC info, at fccdata.org website, at fccdata.org. Some of the applications may not display correctly. Also, too, we currently have a program that manually scrapes the screens of LPFM, or actually of any FM application that's filed in CDBS, that actually scrapes those applications as they're filed and saves that data and uses that as a backup in the event that the real-time data doesn't show up. Now, and that was put in because of the unreliability of the real-time data that's been coming from CDBS because of the contractor. That functionality will be going away with the update to going to LMS, and hopefully we wouldn't have to necessarily use that functionality anyway. We still need to determine how we're going to handle engineering applications, and also to displaying the engineering of the applications that come in, the FM applications. We already have that functionality already for TV. We already have a full LMS implementation for TV already in FCC data. So it's just getting the right tables, getting the right information, and getting that all added in for the FM facilities that'll be going through CDBS. Going through LMS instead of CDBS. So going forward, after on the 25th and later, any applications that you file 318, 319, or an amendment to one, even if it was filed in CDBS, when you file the amendment, you file the amendment in LMS. If you are filing a pleading on an LMS application, like a petition to deny or an informal objection, you go in LMS to do that. What I need to get a confirmation from the FCC is if the application was originally filed in CDBS. Are we going to be filing future pleadings in LMS, and are the pleading filings from LMS and from CDBS going to carry over to LMS? A lot of the data is supposed to carry over from CDBS to LMS. One thing, if you've been in any of the states that have done the renewals, you will see that some of the data didn't transfer over correctly, and you're having to correct names and addresses and such. So be prepared that you might have to do that. So that's pretty much where we're at. And hello from Long Island, New York. I see one station from Long Island and was dismissals. Yeah, there was a very ugly mess that happened out on Long Island in the last window. And I'm not going to get into too much detail because I have to go back and do some more of the research again. But yeah, there was a big mess that we followed out there. We still have all the logs from everything that happened during the three remediation windows that we had during the LPFM MX process, and it got really messy out there. And the one there, I think it was in Fire Island or somewhere like that in New York, where they had some of the issues. So anyway, that's where we're at here. And again, so yeah, as of the 25th, use LMS. If you're not in if you haven't renewed yet and you haven't had a chance to toy with LMS yet, watch my video on this channel of how to do a renewal. And that will kind of give you an idea of what the look and feel of LMS is going to look like. And that's what you're going to have for 318s and 319s. Now, of course, it still means you're going to still need to make sure that you've got all of your documentation, all of your exhibits, that you've got good second adjacent channel waiver showings. Make sure those are in there. If not, you need hired help. There's the number right there. Yes. 844-REC-LPFM 202-621-2355. You can email lpfm@recnet.com. This is what I do. This is what I live and breathe. This kind of thing. In the immortal words of one of my favorite YouTubers, Rachel Maxey, if you're new to the channel, welcome. Feel free to subscribe. You know, whether you're new or old, we welcome you. I mean, you know that, and well, and you know, and that's you know that's where we're at. And then there's Jenny Lorenzo. I love Abuela. Okay, a lot of good stuff on YouTube. We need to be on YouTube more, so let's get that subscribe button pushed. Okay, and let's get some more interest going here, and you know, maybe that'll motivate me to actually sit down and finish up these videos. We've got some great videos from California we still need to do here. We've got we got famous people in the videos. We've got a lot going on here, and I just need the time to construct these videos, and let's see what happens. But for now, I say arigato gozaimashita, sayonara, and we'll chat with you all real soon. Like, again, feel free to post any questions on Facebook and on the REC Networks group, or if you're already a member of the LPFM group. And if you're new to LPFM, look for the future LPFM and NCE broadcasters group, and join that group. Make sure you answer the questions. And that's another thing too. If you're joining my groups, please answer the 3 questions. Simple. Please answer those questions. We need those questions answered. Otherwise, we get people trying to promote their shows or selling Ray-Ban sunglasses, and we don't need that. I try to be very careful and very selective on approving in the groups, and sometimes I might get overprotective, and I'm very overprotective of my groups. So, with that, I say thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week at this time.